Miss Slidehold here. I've got my lab coat on and ready to do some science. We're going to do some kind of wintry weather science, environmental science, because it's winter. It's been really chilly. We've had snow, we've had ice, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then I have a really fun experiment that you can try at your house. So let's talk about it first. I drew a picture here, and this is a thermometer. You probably know a thermometer from when you're not feeling well and someone takes your temperature. They stick it in your mouth and then they see the number that shows how hot or cold your body is. And our bodies usually stay at a certain temperature, so when it's too high, you know you're feeling sick. Well, we also use a different type of thermometer to measure the weather, to tell us how hot or how cold it is outside. You might not have seen one because now we kind of just use our phones or the computer, but this is what it looked like. I would start down here at 0 or even in the negatives, that means super cold, and then it would go all the way up to, sometimes it would go in the hundreds, sometimes even higher depending on where you live. So the thermometer's job is to measure the temperature, to tell us how many degrees it is outside. When it's a low number, like 10, 20, 30, even 40, it's gonna be chilly. When it's higher, up here, like 80, 90, it's gonna be hotter. And then when it's more in between, 60, 70, it's a little more, it's more in between, it's warm. So that will tell you what the weather's like, or at least what the temperature is like. So right now, the weather's 31 degrees. I checked my phone. So it's right over here. Here's 30, and then here's 31. So when I look outside, it's snowing. It's snowing outside. And the reason that it's snowing is because there's a special number on the thermometer. And whenever it's at that number or below, that's the freezing point. That means if it is 32 degrees or lower than that, 31, 30, in the 20s and the 10s, then the water that's falling from the clouds, usually we see it as rain, but it freezes because it's too cold. So then it falls as snow or as sleet, or it's just really, really cold. So that's why when it's winter, we get snow. Because when it's not 31, when it's 40, 50, 60, 70, then the water just falls as rain because it's not cold enough to freeze. But 32 degrees, here, I'll show you the number right here. 32 degrees Fahrenheit is water's freezing point. That means it's so cold that the water freezes. It turns into a solid, and that solid is ice or snow. So if the clouds are filled with water and it's really cold, it's gonna come down as snow. And if you're seeing the clouds, if you're looking up at the sky and it's really cloudy and you want to make a prediction or a guess, is it going to snow? You can check the temperature. The temperature, if it's 32 or below, then you know maybe it will snow. But if it's up there, if it's above 32, 33, 35, 40, it's probably not going to snow. If it does precipitate, that means waterfalls, it will just be rain. Now, if you go really high up on our thermometer, if you go to 212 degrees, that's water's boiling point. And usually we don't have that happen outside unless it's in a volcano. But on the stove, when maybe your family's cooking some pasta or doing something to make the water boil, they have to get it really hot. They have to get it to 212 degrees. And then it will boil, it will make bubbles, turn into gas. So we can see with what's called shifting states of matter. So when it's rain, it's liquid, it's water. When it's boiling, it turns to a gas out of those bubbles. And then when it's freezing, it's solid, that ice. So the water changes, it changes its form of matter depending on the temperature. Changes state, we call it changes state. So it's gas when it's boiling, liquid when it's just rain, and then when it's freezing, it's ice. So that's kind of how you can use the temperature to to make predictions about what will happen to water. So you can, when you check if you want to check the temperature every morning, that will give you a little clue about what the weather is going to be like. It doesn't rain every day. Water doesn't always come down from the clouds, but when it does, if you know the temperature, you could guess how it's going to fall. Another fun way that you could use your knowledge about this temperature is you could take matter into your own hands. That's a science joke. If you have some sort of container, I just have a Tupperware right here, and you fill it with some water. So I fill mine with a little bit of water from my kitchen. What you could do is you could put this outside, and you could leave it there. I don't know how long it will take. You might leave it overnight or maybe over the whole day, and then you could go and check it. You could see if it turned to ice, and if it did turn to ice, you know that the temperature was low. It was cold, and that's why it turned to ice. If it didn't turn to ice, probably the temperature was higher than 32 degrees, because then it won't turn into ice. Or maybe it did turn into ice and then it melted. So you can kind of try that out. And I think a really fun part would be to look ahead at the weather. So if you're putting it outside on one day, you could look at what's the temperature going to be overnight. Is it going to be 20 degrees? And then you can make a prediction. So you could tell your family, or you could tell me, so I'm putting my water outside and tonight's going to be 20 degrees. That's lower, that's less than 32. So I think it's going to freeze. Or you might say, putting my water outside, but tonight's going to be 40 degrees. That's greater than 32. So it's not going to freeze. And then in the morning or whenever you're ready, check your water and see what state it's in. Is it liquid like this, or is it solid like ice? Maybe it's somewhere in between. I don't think it's going to be 212 degrees this winter, so it's probably not going to be a gas. But if it is, let me know. That would be wild. Try it out. All you need is a container, some water, and then just find like a safe place to put it outside. Make sure, I'd probably use a plastic container. I would be worried that if it was glass that it could break. And just let me know. I'd love to hear about what happens. I have done this in a classroom. We would leave something outside and then check it the next day. So I'd love to hear it if you guys get to try it. And make sure you look at the temperature and make a prediction. That will be really fun. And maybe you even take notes. Maybe you leave it out for a few days and maybe you write down the temperature each day, 32, it's frozen, you could draw pictures. Send me all your stuff. I want to know all about it, scientists. Have fun. Science is amazing. I'm gonna go put my water outside, see what happens. Bye.